Hi there, welcome back to Facebook Live Real Life Reboot Week 2. I'm Lance Harvey and this is my wife.
I'm Steffi.
And last week we were talking about why we put together this page, and it was basically we were just going through this reboot together, trying to basically get our crap together. And we have put this together to be a resource for others who are just trying to do the same thing. So tonight we're going to be talking about sleep, all right? And why sleep. Last week I told you that sleep is sexy, and maybe some of you don't believe me, but
it really is, you guys, because for the rest of the year, every single week we're going to be talking about really fun stuff, and we're going to be sharing a lot of great tips for you about marriage and your bodies and health and just getting your crap together along with us. But if you're so tired that you can't even tune in and you can't even apply this to your life, then what is the point? So I believe that this is probably the most important video
Absolutely.
that we will share all year long. It's actually been life-changing for us. It's my favorite topic. As boring as it sounds, it is my favorite. So I'm going to be kind of teacher mode on you. That's kind of his department. But I think that you guys should put your phones away, put your kids away, put any distractions away, and tune in because, like I said, I think this is the really most important video that we're going to share with you guys.
absolutely. And don't check out on us because this is we're going to get kind of sciencey for a while, but it's going to be, once you understand this, you're really going to, I think this is going to click with you. So
Well, and don't think that, oh, I sleep just fine, because guess what? You don't. You don't even know it. That's what's been so interesting to me. And also, don't think that you're exhausted all the time and you've tried everything and nobody can help you, because I think that we can. Because this has really changed my life. I've been a horrible sleeper. So don't check out on us. Don't get distracted.
all right, and just
get ready.
be ready to get figure out our sleep. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about, though, before we start talking to the ins and outs of sleep, is we need to talk about our circadian rhythm. And throw a comment in there if you've ever heard of the circadian rhythm. I'll tell you that I hadn't heard of it for whenever I first started learning about this. It was news to me, and it's really, really interesting because the circadian rhythm, everybody has one, and it is our biological time clock, and not the biological time clock that like women have, like when they can have babies, but the biological time clock that basically runs us every single day. And it runs on a 24-hour cycle, and our circadian rhythm is attuned to control our brain. And so the things it does is it controls our heart rate, it controls our blood pressure, it controls the type of hormones that are secreted and what time, and also it just turns on every genetic function that we have. You know, our DNA is made up of all these genes that we get from our parents and our ancestors, and they have certain functions that keep us alive. And our circadian rhythm is what monitors those and what turns those on and turns them off at certain times. And so the circadian rhythm is obviously really, really important. And it's controlled by a part in your brain called the hypothalamus. You guys might not care about that, but I think it's kind of interesting. And your light from your eyes tells the hypothalamus, whenever in the morning, the light that is perceived by your eyes goes to the hypothalamus, and it tells your brain, turn everything on. All right, so it elevates your heart rate, elevates your temperature, elevates your blood pressure, and then also tells you to turn some things off, like the secretion of melatonin, which is what makes you sleepy. And so the circadian rhythm basically wakes you up during the day, and it cycles, and we're not going to get into the ins and outs of the things it does on it, on its cycle, but at night it reverses, and as the light starts to go down and your eyes start perceiving less light, that's when it's a signal for your brain to start to shut down and start to put you into sleep mode.
You guys know what that is. Like in the wintertime when the time changes and everybody is like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I have to go to bed, and then it's like 4 o'clock, everybody wants to go to bed. That's your body's process. That's basically exactly what he's talking about. Your body is a computer. It tells everything to do. It's super important.
Yeah. And so as your rhythm starts to wane and your body starts to prepare itself for sleep, that is whenever a lot of the important processes in your body take place, actually, is when you're sleeping. And if your sleep is short-circuited, then that knocks off your circadian rhythm, and it causes a multitude of problems. Your body doesn't really know how to respond with that. And unfortunately, in our society, like that's what we're pretty much trained to do. We don't value sleep, and so we're trained to disregard sleep, and then that throws our body off, and then it throws everything else out of whack. And
It literally makes you sick.
yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about what does real sleep look like? What is it supposed to look like? And then we'll compare it to what the sleep that most people get or don't get looks like, and the problems it causes, and then how can we fix that? Okay, so sleep. Most people have heard, hey, we need to get 8 hours of sleep per night. That's a myth. Okay, now the quantity of sleep of 8 hours is not something that's necessarily like, oh, you have to have 8 hours. It is based off old studies, and there's actually a better way to figure out how much sleep that you need. And so what ends up happening is your body works off what is called a cycle. And those cycles last about 90 minutes, and they go through several stages, and you go through several cycles.
He's going to geek out for a second on these, you guys, but it's kind of, I've learned that the more information that I know, that I understand, then the more likely I'm actually going to do it. Because, knowledge is power. You've heard that phrase before. But also, there's a new phrase that I've heard before that I love saying it, because you can't unknow something. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. So if that sticks in you and it clicks with you and you understand exactly how your body works and why, then I think you're going to be more likely to pay attention to your body and to do it. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so you have these sleep cycles, and like I said, they go in stages. And so here's how it works. You have the first stage of sleep, which is called N1, or non-REM stage 1. And that's the stage where you're kind of like falling off into sleep. You're kind of relaxed. You hear things, but you don't really want to respond to them. And, you start to twitch and, jerk and things like that. And that's your body's last, vestige hold on consciousness. But if you hear a loud noise, or someone comes up and, claps in your face, or you hear a truck outside, you snap out of that sleep. And so it's a lighter sleep stage, but it kind of just takes you into the beginnings of a deeper sleep. And then after that, it takes about 10 minutes. After that, you get into what is called N2 sleep. N2 is a deeper sleep, and your brain wave puts out what's called theta waves. And these theta waves are still kind of, fast moving frequency, but then your brain starts to shut stuff down. And it's a deeper sleep. You're less likely to respond to outside stimuli, and you're in a deeper sleep. And, that's whenever you're really, really in a good state of sleep. And then your body moves to, that takes about 20 to 30 minutes. And then your body moves to what's called N3. N3 is the deep sleep. That is the sleep where you're just slobbering, dead to the world, the sleep that everybody loves to get. And it's the sleep where your body, the blood pressure, your body temperature drops, your blood pressure drops, everything slows down. And at this point in time, your body really starts to do a lot of stuff to repair itself.
That's the important part.
Yeah. And your brain is shuffling around information and storing it and getting rid of stuff that it doesn't need. And then you kind of move into a different stage. You go back to the N2 for a little bit, and then you move into what is called REM sleep. And I think probably most of you have heard of REM sleep. That's the rapid eye movement. That is where you dream, the dream state where your eyes are flipping around and you're thinking about all the crazy stuff, and somehow, it becomes a realistic idea that you could be going on a roller coaster and
Tell them about the body being paralyzed part.
Oh, yeah.
Super interesting.
Yeah. A good thing about REM sleep is because when you have these crazy dreams, your brain says, well, you probably ought not to carry these out. And so your body is paralyzed during REM sleep. And so even though you want to punch somebody in the face or kick at somebody, or whenever you will try to run really fast and it feels like you just can't, that's because your body is literally paralyzed.
That's probably where the phrase dead asleep comes from.
It could be. I don't know. It could be. So anyway, you have this REM sleep, and then you kind of cycle out of it. And eventually you come out of the cycle, and if you've had the proper rest, you feel refreshed. But
so you can see where if you wake up in the middle of one of those N1, N2, N3, N4, you know how that feeling is when you wake up and you cannot get out of bed for nothing. You feel like you've been hit by a Mack truck. It's not because you haven't had enough sleep. It's not because you had too much sleep. It's because you're waking up in the middle of a cycle. So if you figure out your cycles, then that's when you can get quality sleep over quantity sleep.
Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna do today.
Yeah, and you're supposed to have about 5 or 6 of those cycles.
If you can.
If you can. And they average about 90 minutes per cycle. And we're going to talk to you about how to figure out how to get optimum sleep cycles and not sleep quantity. Hours, blah, blah, blah. We want to try and figure out how we get our cycles. Okay, so enough of the science lesson. All right. What do? Why do we care about this? All right. And the reason why, and I said this earlier, but if you weren't with us earlier, sleep is when the body repairs itself. And we don't really give a whole lot of credence to what our body does when it's asleep. But it clears out all this space in the brain, all this junk that we take in on the internet and all the junk you take in at work and all the conversations you've had. It all gets stored in our brain, but it's not worth keeping. And at night, whenever you're sleeping, your brain says, you know what, we'll clear that out here, we'll clear that out here, we'll make space to process more stuff tomorrow. And if we don't, that causes all kinds of traffic jams inside your brain, and it makes it really, really difficult to function. It also just basically resets itself. The body resets itself at night. So let's talk about the problems from lack of sleep. Probably some of you guys can identify some of these. So the first one is...
I would also interject that problems from not having the correct sleep cycle as well. Like if you're continually waking up in the wrong cycle,
Right.
You're not getting enough sleep, and you're also waking up in the wrong cycle, so you're sluggish all day.
Yeah.
That could affect that as well.
Correct. That's true. So what's the lack of sleep doing for us? First of all, like I said, it's gumming up your brain. Okay, it's not allowing these toxins to be flushed out. And so if you feel like you're a lot of times in like a fog, like your brain is not really functioning well, that could be because the lack of sleep is not giving your brain the optimal function at night. It's not clearing out all those toxics, all that cellular stuff that gets stuck in there. And it also affects memory. So wives, if your husbands, are like, hey, I said I was going to do that, but I didn't do that. And I don't know why. Probably because he doesn't even remember it. Maybe he's not getting proper sleep. So you might encourage him to, get his sleep cycles in order. The second thing it's doing, it's making us fat. All right, it's making us fat. And a lack of sleep causes triggers to increase cortisol production. Cortisol is a hormone that causes us to store fat. And whenever you are in a lack of sleep, then the cortisol production, your body signals that, we're in crisis mode and we need to store some fat. And so it literally is making you fat. It also doesn't let you process your blood glucose.
I will say too, I used to be a really, really bad night owl, like really bad, like 1 or 2 o'clock, sometimes 4 o'clock. Sometimes I'd go to the studio and work and I'd be like, oh crap, I got to get home because the kids need a ride to school. Seriously, I was kind of a night owl, and I would get behind and what?
No, it was
it was
I
bad.
guess you call that a night owl.
Yeah, that's really not a night owl.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
You're
It's
like
psycho.
a non-sleeper.
But I would get a lot of belly fat, and I would feel icky. And then, if you pull an all-nighter, you don't get caught up. You actually get farther behind because you are just worthless for 3 days. You guys know that, I'm sure. But my whole point to sharing that is I did notice the effects of the cortisol issues with my belly fat. And I mean, we talked about that. You're like, I know why. You feel like crap and that you're gaining weight in the belly is because you're not sleeping.
Right. And so it's gumming up our brains, it's making us fat, and then there's a cycle with that because it also causes cravings. And then whenever you're craving like sugary, sweet stuff, then you're eating fatty foods and your body's storing those fat. And so it's like a treadmill that you can't get off of. The third thing it's doing for us is it's making us depressed. Our brains are not processing the hormones that regulate our moods. And so whenever you're not getting enough sleep, your body, its anxiety level is lifted. And so that like quick response of panic and anxiousness is elevated. And so
anger.
we feel angry a lot. We feel irritated. Obviously, you've seen people with lack of sleep. I'm just tired. Well, that is a response to this, the CNS not getting the proper rest that it needs. And so we're depressed. Also, sometimes the hormones that regulate our mood are not being released. And so therefore we go into this kind of depression mode, and it's really, really hard to get out of that. And so the final thing that it does is it's killing us. All right, lack of sleep is literally killing you, and it is making your lifespan much less because number one, it is increasing your risk of certain diseases. There's been a link to lack of sleep in breast cancer. There's been a link to a lack of sleep in prostate cancer. And I'm not talking like a sideways, like I'm talking like full-on studies done where the increase of these cancerous occurrences has happened directly because of people in their patterns of a lack of sleep. It causes high blood pressure, a risk of diabetes, and also it is suppressing your immune system. So if something comes against you and you're not ready to fight it because you haven't had the proper sleep, then you are subject to get really, really sick. Okay, so anyway, all those things are things that are happening whenever you're losing sleep. So what can we do?
And you're waking up within the wrong cycle.
Yeah. So what can we do about that? Well, here are a few tips to make sure that you are getting the right sleep and how you can optimize your time sleeping in the bedroom. So.
And also, we're going to give you the formula for figuring out your sleep cycle too. So stay tuned. We're almost done.
Okay. All right. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure that your room is dark. Okay. Make sure your room is dark. If you sleep with windows and you've got lights coming in from the streets,
even a crack in your curtain can affect you. Tell them about the ear thing.
No, I'm not going to talk about that right now. I don't want to talk about that right now because it's really, really deep and involved, and I feel like.
Send me a private message.
Okay.
I'll tell you all about it.
All right, it's pretty interesting. Anyway, the light that comes in from your room because your brain is a signal. Oh, hey, it's time to wake up. So if there's light in your room, then your brain never fully goes to sleep. And so make sure all your lights get some blackening shades and make sure that thing is dark as like a cave. Right.
Okay. No, because I want to talk about this one.
Okay. Also, don't go to bed in a room that's like a sauna. All right. Some people, it's wintertime and we crank it up to 75.
And you men out there
degrees.
who love it cool, this is a good argument for you.
Yeah, because you can say, hey, we're going to turn it down, we're going to save some money on the heat bill, and we're also going to get optimal sleep because it should be around 67 degrees in your bedroom. That is the best body temperature for you to sleep at. If you're sleeping where it's like 70, 72 degrees, you're going to get terrible, terrible quality of sleep. So turn it down.
Okay, and this is a big one. This is going to be hard for some of y'all. Don't go to bed with your phones. Don't even have them near you. Mm-hmm. I went to a conference once where, I am not kidding you, one of my friends, we had 2 double beds and I was sleeping with her, and every time she would wake up or go to the bathroom, she would turn her phone on and look at it. Mm-hmm.
Some of you do
crazy.
That. I know some of you out there do that.
So get your phone away from you so you're not tempted to get on the internet. I think that's common sense. But also the most important reason is your Wi-Fi needs to be off. Like turn your Wi-Fi off. If you do have to use your phone, I mean, people are like, oh, I have to get an alarm clock. Well, guess what? You can go to Walmart and pick up an alarm clock for about $9. Mm-hmm. You can go old school. Get rid of your phones. But at the very least, turn off all your notifications. Turn off your Wi-Fi. That is huge, huge,
Why are we
huge.
turning our Wi-Fi off?
You can explain that.
Okay.
This is your
The electromagnetic fields that are emitted by the Wi-Fi jack with your sleep pattern.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like a gentle prodding. You're asleep, and then those electromagnetic fields hitting, hey, and so you never get in that full deep sleep. And you might think that that's crazy. No, there are studies that have been linked to that. Mm-hmm. It's not.
And it's made a huge difference, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
No caffeine, and I know you guys have all heard this before. But a lot of you will say, oh, that doesn't affect me. I drink coffee all day. I drink pop all day. It does. I used to be an avid Diet Coke drinker. I gave it up about 3 years ago. I drank it all the time. I drink at 9 o'clock at night before I go to bed, and I thought that doesn't affect me. But once I gave it up, then the way my body felt and the way I slept was totally different.
Yeah.
And now if I drink coffee afternoon, no, forget about it. I won't do it.
Yeah. I mean, the caffeine is a reason. There's a reason why, why it sells billions of dollars a year to keep people up, because it works. So cut it out. The next is no blue light. Okay, turn your computer off. Mm-hmm. Okay,
if you have one in your room.
Because that blue light is something that's really going to alert those sensors in your brain, and it takes a while for your sensors then to shut back down. So if you're, like she said earlier, turn your cell phones off, you should probably turn your cell phone off. I mean, they say no cell service and nothing, no TV about 2 hours before. I think that's probably unreasonable, but if you can do it an hour before, don't have it be the last thing you look at before to get
You're giving your energy away to Facebook.
And
except for on Sunday nights at 9.
Sunday nights, go ahead and do that. All right.
No heavy meals. Did you do that already? No heavy meals or workouts within 2 hours before bed. That just gets your...
It causes your body to start processing, and then
that.
it wakes it up again, and it causes all kinds of disruptions in your body temperature at night. So don't eat any heavy meals or work out at least 2 hours before you go to bed.
And you know how you always hear, get up and touch your toes 10 times, do some stretches. You know, my grandma would do that every single morning. But do that every night. Stretch, get your body. I mean, if you guys are yoga doers, do yoga in the evening. You know how it is after you get into yoga anyway, you're just like, I want to go to sleep. Do that. It will relax your body, relax your muscles. That is huge. Deep breathing. Do that right now. You can feel how much energy that gets into your lungs. Soothing music. Lavender oils, if you're into oil. Put lavender in your diffuser. That really makes a huge difference. And brain dump. This has been huge for me. Because if you wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot to do that. Oh my gosh, I forgot to call her. Get a little piece of paper when you're laying in bed, listen to your music with your lavender oil, and just write down every single thing that you need to do tomorrow, or every single thing that you got messed up today that you need to fix, or whatever. And while you're doing that, write 2 or 3 things down you're grateful for. That'll put you in a really good state of mind. Alcohol. If you guys are alcohol drinkers, if you drink a glass of wine, cheers. 1 glass of wine. Do not drink more than 1. Tell them why.
1 glass of wine will kind of it'll start to relax your brain and start to put you in that kind of sleepy mode. And 2 glasses of wine will short circuit that and send you straight into N2. And you're like, oh great, well I just skipped a stage. But then the alcohol jacks up the process, and you'll wake up in the middle of N3. Either you have to go to the bathroom, or you'll just wake up for no reason, and then it'll be hard to get back to sleep.
Yeah, you're being messed
So yeah, don't drink 2 or 3 glasses of wine right before bed.
And you think it works because you feel like, oh, I can go to sleep really good now. Yeah. It does work initially, but then it will catch up with you and you're screwed.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
What about this?
This is an important one. Make sure your room's toxin free. All right. Don't be using a bunch of heavy bleaches and detergents and cleaners that are gonna give all kinds of,
Get chemical-free pillows.
Yeah, they're gonna
because
be
you're breathing
chemicals.
in all night long.
Yeah, and they're gonna jack with your system in the way that it processes at night. So try to make your room toxin free. Also, don't stack all your laundry. It's not like you've got all your laundry folded and it's stacked inside your room. That's got all kinds of allergens with it. So
you can't put it up. Do what we do. Just leave it in a pile on the couch and make your kids do it.
That's right.
Don't have it in your room. Are we good? Okay.
I think so.
So I have mentioned, because I've had a couple people send me questions about this. If you have children, little babies especially, we have lots of information on that. If you have chronic pain, if you have back issues, if you have TMJ, I have TMJ, it's the worst. Things like that, we have some information on that.
Chronic inflammation.
Yeah, things like that. Something more specialized. If you want to get really weird and really geeked out on it, we have a lot more information. So just send us a message. We'll send that to you privately. And also, as promised, we are going to do a contest. And I'm super excited about this. And we need to go out with that music too. FYI. Okay, have you guys, throw a heart up there if you've heard of the Chateau Avalon. Has anyone heard of that? That is like my favorite hotel. It's in Kansas City. They have theme rooms. Talking about dreaming. This is stuff dreams are made of. We stayed in a theme room that is literally a huge boat in the middle of the room.
Like a Castaway.
Castaway Island. It took up 2 stories. Had a treasure chest. You had to climb up into the boat to sleep. It had a treasure chest, which was the hot tub. And it had, how tall were those ceilings? Probably 12, 13, 20? I don't even know. They were huge.
At least 20.
I mean, there was a boat in there, so at least 20 feet. 20 feet murals of the beach, and it was awesome. Rolinda, have you been there? I freaking love that place. Anyway, there's a bunch of cool places. I will post the link, but we're going to give away at the end of the year for 2. So you can take your lover to the Chateau Avalon, and they have all kinds of fun stuff. They have an amazing bar there. They have a massage. You know, in the movies when you get massages for 2 in the same room, they have that. Lots
it's
of
also right across the street from Kansas Speedway.
Yeah,
so
and
if your
and the
husband's a
soccer.
NASCAR fan.
The Wizards, are they still there?
Sporting Kansas City, yeah. If you're a soccer fan, it's right there, right next to the Sporting Kansas City.
So here is the rules. You have to tune in every week. You have to tag a friend starting next week, since we didn't tell you those rules, and you have to bring your homework to class. So if any of you have your New Year's resolutions, take a screenshot of them or take a picture of them and post them under this post. You don't have to do it right now, but do it sometime this week and you get entered. Every week that you show up, every week that you tag a friend, every week that you post your homework, you'll get 3 entries. So if you do that every week, you got pretty good odds. So it's a pretty fun place.
Oh, you know what we didn't do? We kind of short-circuited that too. We forgot to tell you how to figure out your sleep cycle.
Oh my gosh, the most important part.
The most important part, yeah.
So 90-minute cycles, and for those of you that left, you're going to miss out. You're going to have to inbox me. 90-minute cycles, and you are going to, so if you get 5 to 6 cycles, so you've got 90 minutes times 5, 450 minutes, divide that by 60, that's approximately 60 hours. So if you have to get up at 6, you want to go to bed at 12, or add that extra 90 minutes. So you would go to bed at 10:30, or you would go to bed at 9. You see what I'm doing there. Now you also need to add a little bit of extra time to fall asleep. So those of you that go to bed and you're like, I'm going to freaking fall asleep as soon as I hit the pillow, add an extra 5 or 10 minutes. Those of you that are like me that take a little bit longer, add about 20 minutes. So if you figure out your sleep cycle is 6 hours, 7.5, 9, you see where I'm going. Now remember how we said 90 minutes is average. So that means if you try that and you're just still waking up feeling like you've been hit by a Mack truck, then tweak it a little bit. Try 6.5 hours. Try 5.5 hours. Just do that and start it every single night and you will find it. We know ours is 6 hours, 7.5, or 9. That's what we do every single night. So if we fall asleep and we don't have enough time to get 7.5, we will actually fix the alarm back and get up earlier to make it 6 because we know from experience we've woken up out of that sleep cycle and we are just a mess.
We've even had to go 4.5 before.
Yeah, we have. And
It's
it's
better
been
to get-
worth it. It's been worth it.
It's better to get 4.5 hours of sleep
For
than
our
5.
cycle.
Yeah, for our cycle.
Now, ultimately, if you have the luxury, like if you're a stay-at-home mom and your kids aren't early risers, or if you don't work, you're retired, if you can go to sleep and not set your alarm and then see what time you wake up naturally and maybe keep a record for 2 or 3 days, then that is the best way. But if not, set your alarm, start off at the 6 hours, 7.5, or 9, because that's kind of what our cycle is. If, like I said, if that doesn't work, tweak it. About 30 minutes, I think, is what we've figured out.
Yeah.
But it will make a huge difference in your life for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And next week we're going to be talking about how to build.
We don't know yet.
Well, I think I decided.
Did you decide?
I thought we were going to start talking about building a schedule.
Okay, that's
All
what we're
right.
going to talk about.
We're going to talk about building a schedule. And once again, that is going to be something super important to get your sleep down. So this week, really experiment with that. Try to figure out what is your sleep cycle.
Yep, that's
Try
your
to get
homework.
plenty of sleep. That's your homework. And then tell us how that all went. And just send us
I know this one was a little bit longer and a little bit more boring, I guess, but I really think that if you will try to apply that, it will change your life. And I promise it'll be a little bit more fun next week.
All right. Hey,
Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. We'll see you next Sunday at 9
See you
o'clock.
later.